Hey, Katrina here from ScrappyHorses. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm so happy you're here today. I am working on a card where I have created some of my own die cuts. So grab a cup of coffee, cocoa, tea, and make yourself at home, and let's see if this is something you might be interested in trying. I created this card for the challenge over at Cut It Up. And if you enjoy using die cuts, we'd love to have you play along. This is a great challenge because it's anything goes. Just be sure to use a die cut in your project. All right, let's take a look at this card so that we can sort of get an idea of what we have going on. We are starting off with a card blank. That's this piece right here or right here. And I do not cut that on my Cricut machine. I simply cut that on my paper slicer. I cut it at 5.5 by 8.5 and then fold it in half, and then there's my card blank. We have a layering piece, and I'll be honest, I cut these pieces again on my paper slicer. I did not cut them according to the dimensions here. I basically start with this piece, which I did create in Cricut Design Space, and then just went to my paper slicer and made my layering pieces off of that based on this dimension, I guess I should say. This piece is an embossed piece. I used an embossing folder from Embossabilities, and everything else was created in Cricut Design Space. So let's take a look at this. We are here in Cricut Design Space, and what I have is the front of the card, which you just saw the picture, and this is the inside sentiment, which will be just adhered on the inside of this card base. Again, we have the card base, a layering piece, a layering piece, a layering piece, and then this piece we need to take a look at, and this piece we need to take a look at. Then of course we'll take a look at the inside sentiment. This piece was quite simple. I just pull in a shape and I just click shapes, and all these different shapes appear. I'm going to bring in a square. If I want this panel to go away, I simply click this little left facing arrow. I'm doing this with my mouse. I'm going to go ahead and just size it, and I'm going to cheat a little bit here. I'm just going to size it by matching it up with what I have there. I'm going to change it to white. I do this up here under operation. There's a little colored square here, and then when I click that, this comes up and I can change that to white. My text is Bodoni 72 Oldstyle. So I'm going to click text. I'm going to type in my sentiment, just, and I know I want it 2 lines, so I'm going to go ahead and do it that way. A note. I'm going to pull this over here so you can see right here, but watch my cursor for a moment. I'm going to come up here to where it says font. I am going to click that little drop down caret there, and now I can choose all of these different fonts, and there's all the ones that are in Cricut, in your system, what you've used recently, and what you have bookmarked. I believe Bodoni is a system font for me. I'm going to go ahead and type in B-O-D-O, there it is, Bodoni 72, and there's my just a note. I'm going to go ahead and size it down and bring it in here. I'm going to go to my color, change it to that dark black there. Now I'm going to come in and I'm going to go to advanced. I'm going to ungroup this to lines. Right now this moves together, but if I come to advanced, ungroup to lines, now they move as just little pieces. So I'm going to put just a note. I may want that just a tad bit smaller, just a tad. So I'm going to come in, select it all, bring my paper back in, swipe over everything, come over to this right hand column. Down at the bottom it says flatten. I left click. That's done. Let's come to our die cut now. This die cut, I did use Pinstripe music symbols. So you can go in and go to images and type in Treble Clef. If you want to use this one in particular, you can go ahead and choose this particular Treble Clef and find it by looking for a particular set of images. And I have a video on that, and I'm going to post it right up here. I'm going to link it right here. You can just click up there and you can find it. It's a pretty easy way to find any cartridge or set of images. All right, so moving on with this one, since I've already brought it in, let's just go ahead and duplicate that and set it right here so it is ready to go. Now to get my staff, a staff is 5 lines on a piece of music, and I'm going to come in again and come over to the left-hand side. I'm going to left-click Shapes, bring in a square. I know this seems crazy, doesn't it? I am going to size this square at 2.35 by 0.05. So I have selected the square. I'm coming up to size right here. I'm going to unlock that little lock. I just do that by left clicking. 2.35. Click the square. 0.05. Again, using the keyboard. And there it is. I am going to go ahead and put this in right at this position Y9. That just is going to make the next step easier. I'm going to select this and I'm going to click duplicate, and that is a left click. Duplicate again, duplicate again, select, left click, duplicate again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Perfect. So I have selected this line and he is going in at 9.25. I'm going to come down for this guy. I'm going to put him in at 9.5. This one at 9.75. And this one is already at 10. I'm going to select all of these lines. I'm going to come back up here to the top, and where it says align, I'm going to click, and I can either align them all left or I can align them all right, one or the other. Let's go left. I'm going to select them all, and I'm going to flatten. Now they're not going to go anywhere. They are ready to roll. I'm going to resize my treble clef. I'm going to position that in where I like it. And I'm bringing him over so that these lines don't show this time. I'm going to try that. Before, when I did it, I had all the little bumps over here. I'm just going to put him in this way and see what happens if I do this. That'll be sort of fun. So if you like those lines are in because I moved him this way, and so when I did my offset, the line showed. But let's just see what happens if I pull him all the way over here so that the lines don't show. I'm going to go ahead and flatten that. And now this is one piece. Now let's go ahead and offset this. So it's already selected. I come up to the top to offset. I'm going to offset this at 0.153. Apply. I'm going to change this color up here to white. I'm going to select it all and hit flatten. And now this is one piece. Now I'm going to do this again. I've selected it. I'm going to offset again to about 1.25. That might be a bit big. Let's go here. Let's go at 0.097. Apply, and it's done. All right, now I want this black piece to be a separate piece. I'm going to make that a basic cut, change my color to that black. That is now done. All right. So again, you can see that this changes the shape here of how this looks. You can see the difference here between these two. How I had the little bumps here, and here it's all nice and round and smooth. So you can play around with that and change that and design it the way you like it. Next, let's talk about the little note that goes on here. So let's set this aside. We're going to set this over here. We're still going to play with this a little bit. And let's go back to shapes. Let's bring in an oval. And let's bring in, I think this is pronounced tilde, but I'm not sure. Let's select it. We can work with it even if we don't know how to say it, right? Let's click that little caret there. I want to bring this, actually I'm going to leave it big to work with it. Let's take this, let's rotate it 90. I've selected it. I'm going to come up here to rotate. At my keyboard, I am typing in a 9. And then I'm going to click my little tilde. Let's come down here so we can have some room. I know I want this bigger. All right, so now you get the general idea of what we're doing here, but you're probably thinking, boy, that stem on this note is pretty thick. Yes, it is. Now, you're probably thinking, wait, I know, we can just do this, right? Push it this way to the right or left, change that width. But when we change the width, check out what happens. It starts to straighten that line. Okay, and that's not what I want. If I'd wanted a straight line, I just would have pulled in a square and done it that way. So I'm going to go back here to what we had, and let's see what we can figure out. All right, let's duplicate this. Let's set this in right next to it. And let's check out this width here. That looks like a pretty thin little stem. Let's select the two pieces. Let's align them, bottom or top works. Let's come over here to this right-hand panel and let's slice that. And look at what we get. Isn't that cool? So now we keep that shape, that curve, but now look at it's perfect. All right, let's come in and I'm going to bump this up so we can see what we're doing. And what we're trying to do is line up the curve of this piece with the actual oval. Let's make this smaller. And let's try to put it right back in again. All right. See where I've lined this up right here. Sweep over and come back over to the right-hand column, combine, and weld. Now, you'll notice that when you're welding, it will tell you that you can't undo a weld. Well, you can. All you have to do is just hit your back button. But once you've saved it, you're not going to change anything. So that's when you can't change anymore. All right, I'm going to bump this down just a little bit. Let's grab it again. Let's combine, weld. This action cannot be undone. See where it said it there? It can just by hitting your back button over here. All right, so, all right, we have this. Let's weld it. And we've got it. I want to duplicate this. So we're going to select it and duplicate, and we're going to set that aside. We're going to put this back over here. We're going to put them closer to the F, I think. Swipe over it all and flatten again, and let's move this out of the way. right, this guy we're going to hang on to for this part of our card, which we're doing next. We're going to pull in another square. And again, I'm just going to cheat and eyeball it against what I already have here. It's probably about a 3.65 by 5 would be my guess. And let's change it to white. I want another white square, so all I'm going to do here, I'm going to go ahead and make this go away. I'm going to go ahead and inset this. So I'm going to go the opposite way. Right? And let's make it about that big. I'm going to do it at 0.333. I'm going to sharpen up my corner and hit apply. Now I'm going to do that again, except this time I'm going to offset this. I'm going to go the opposite way. I'm just going to go a little teeny tiny bit here. So I am going to use the arrow on my keyboard and hit left arrow until I get to 0.042, hit apply. This inside one, I'm going to change back to white. I'm going to come back up to this little black square, change it to white. Now I have this kind of idea, right? If you want more space on the inside, you certainly can make this larger. You can choose whatever size you like. I'm going to bring in some text. So again, we're coming over to this left-hand side, click text. We're already on Bodoni 72. Let's bring this over. And we're just going to double left click and type to say thanks. We're going to left click, bring it in, and I don't have any problem with that except for the fact that we've got that huge gap. You have a couple of choices. You can either do your advanced and ungroup to lines and move them, or I'll show you a different technique since we've already done that one. We've selected it. We go to line space and we want to go down in line space, make it smaller. I just keep clicking with my mouse until I get it where I like the size. Let's go with that nice dark black. You'll see it change color just a little bit. I'm going to select the whole thing. I'm going to align center horizontally. Now I'm going to bring this in. I'm going to make him just a little smaller. I'm going to duplicate. Actually, I want to change his color first before I duplicate. Let's come up here, go to this lightest gray, and now go to advanced and go even a smidge lighter. So it's somewhere up right in here. You could go even lighter if you wanted. I'm going to now duplicate by left clicking, duplicate. I'm going to group them together. I'm going to use my toggle to just sort of move them off that way. That may have been a bit much. There we go. I'm going to move them. Whoops, let's bring them both to the front here. Sometimes you have to move them individually to the front. There we are. And let's bring in our treble clef. We're going to do the same thing. So let's just duplicate. We can come up now and hit this black square. We've already got that super light gray right there, so we can just click it right there. We're already at the front, so we're ready to roll. Let's make that a little smaller. So now we're going to sweep over everything, flatten, and this is going to be extremely light. It just kind of looks like it's in the background. So if you write a little note down here, you can clearly write over that and your writing is going to show. This will not take the priority or the precedence there. It definitely will be in the background. All right, so there's the inside of your card. I did not do a video on how to put this together. I'm sure you can figure that one out. This just is adhered to the inside of your card blank and everything just gets layered up. I would probably use, because if you watch many of my videos, you know I'm not the most confident gluer around. So what I do is I usually use a double stick tape or my tape gun, my tape runner, and then I use a little fabric tack, which gives me a little bit of wiggle room. So if I don't get something lined up perfectly, it's fine. I can scooch it around a little bit and it will work. Then one more tip I'll give you is I like to, once I've glued them on, just put a stamp block on top of it and it just holds it down nicely, keeps it nice and flat. All right, I think that covers everything for this card. I hope I've inspired you to possibly try your own die cut. Do be a little creative and create something that's totally you, that's totally yours. Any comments or questions, please leave them below. I always appreciate a like, or if you'd like to subscribe to my channel. I do a lot of Cricut videos as well as other crafting, and I welcome you to peruse all the other videos in my collection. Hey, I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will catch up with you in the next video. Bye.